Okay, so this is kind of a very special interview and discussion because you're getting to talk. I will let him introduce himself and tell a little bit about what he does because I don't know what your position. I think your position has changed since the last time I saw you.
Cambodia. I own my business, uh, SBC K9. So what we do is we are a one-stop shop center for dog training, dog hotel, grooming. We do everything, pet industry, you name it. We do. I work in cooperation with different canine units in Cambodia, where I help with training. I don't actually train all of them. I help with training, special situations, special cases where they need tactical training or search and rescue training or something of the like. So I help out with that patrol dog training. Officially, I am also a Cambodian National Police. What that means is I am equivalent to the national level of a police officer in Cambodia. If you were to equate that in the U.S., you have local, state, and
Yeah,
then you have federal. I'm federal, so I'm federal. If that makes any sense.
yeah,
So that's what
yeah.
I do. I'm a K9 instructor as well for the federal K9, the Cambodian National Police. But essentially, I just oversee things now at my old age. Not like when I was young. I used to uh, gung ho, get right into it. You know what I mean? And get into a bite suit and have dogs just jump on you and stuff like that. So now I currently just oversee a lot of the training and just I do special patrols and I do called upon. I do search and rescue or missing persons cases with the canine tracking and trailing. Other than that, I
Yeah,
run my business, my canine.
I'll tell you, if you put a bike suit on in Cambodia, it's hot. It's really, really hot wearing a bite suit in Cambodia because it's extremely hot all the time. That's one of the things you have to deal with is the temperature is very different for people in Western Europe or most of North America, and that definitely changes the tracking or the trailing aspect. And do you
Correct.
do you have how many dogs do you have now? Personally, you still have the German Shepherd for the search and rescue.
Now I have a an offspring of hers, which is a German Shepherd mix Malinois, and he does explosive detection, specifically RDX and PETN. And now I have a new one, a Dutch Shepherd. She is about 6 months, and she is going to training right now. That's where we're traveling to. It is 7 in the morning, and we're traveling her, bringing her to training in a public space in the park of people. So we're trying to socialize her and desensitize her to the environment of people. Hopefully, she could become a patrol dog.
Yeah, the this new dog, a KMPV, is from Holland, from Netherlands.
No.
No.
It's just the breed is called Dutch Shepherd. It's just I bought
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I bought
yeah,
her
yeah,
through
yeah.
middleman, a middleman somewhere in Vietnam, and then they
Oh,
shipped her to me.
oh yeah. No, no, no. Because the I have a Dutch Shepherd, but he's a KMPV, which really means that he's Dutch Shepherd Malinois mix, and because Holland's known as the best dog, they produce the best dogs. They're like the Formula One of dogs. So because that's another story. But when people start talking about Malinois, German Shepherds, whatever, but then there are dogs that were just bred to do military work, and that's what that's what my guy is, and that's why I asked about that because I know there are some people breeding Malinois in Thailand now, and they were also Thailand was given the Thai military was given some dogs from the United States too, so
Okay.
yeah, and they have a little bit longer history because during the Vietnam War the U.S. was there with a lot of dogs, and for the Air Force at the bases and stuff, and then they moved a lot of their dogs out of Vietnam to Thailand and the Philippines too, also. But yeah, that's kind of the history. So I mean, Cambodia's a different story. You kind of actually were a pioneer, weren't you? I mean, you were a pioneer for trying to get the search and to get the search and rescue dogs and that. I mean, you really. They didn't know. They didn't know what they were missing. I mean, they didn't know how beneficial the dogs are. I mean, now that you're doing explosives, there's nothing. I mean, nothing competes with a dog for that. Nothing. There's absolutely nothing.
Yeah, just to touch a little bit on that, what you were saying. Yes. So a few years ago, I think it's been since I last saw you.
Yeah.
You were here in Cambodia. Back then, it was just getting started a little bit, but prior to that, since 2014, I've been beginning stages of trying to get it started, getting everyone recognized, getting all the different departments and units. And back then in 2014, I wasn't even working for the government. I was a private individual with my own dog school, just trying to get it running. But at the same time, I recognized there was missing something in the government sector. With dogs, they didn't have search and rescue dogs, and during Thailand there was a huge tsunami at that point around. I think just before that, 2012 or something. I can't remember, but they at the same time they didn't have search and rescue, so they created a whole search and rescue unit with dogs. So it took me quite a long time up till now recently, where they're just finally pushing it, where different military and police units have search and rescue dogs now. It took a long time, but it was worth the push. It was worth the wait to see my dream come into fruition. That they have every unit have a search and rescue dog, and I'm actually proud of them for putting it together. It took a while. It took a lot of people involved. It took a lot of training, and how it goes. It's kind of like because some people they don't understand the training, so you got to put them through the training. Connection with other people around the world to get it off and running. One of my mates from the Australian Working Patrol Dog Association, Wayne Ferrari, he helped me with that. If it wasn't for him and his team, I wouldn't be able to get it up and running like with the government. I needed someone with a background from outside to help push it, because if I was just doing it myself, it was slowly getting there, but I needed a professional outsider to step in and say, hey, this is something you're missing. He's right. And I can help him do it with you guys. And then we did.
It doesn't matter where and what country or wherever. Always, if you read the history, it was always difficult to start initially, but then once they get in, and then it stays. Usually, it usually just stays. I mean, if you look at what's happened, and I know quite a few different places where, like, they changed the training methods in Holland and stuff, and that was a big deal. That happened, and he was a leader. The guy Simon Prinz, he was a leader in a lot of stuff using the camera on the dogs. I mean, he started back in the 90s, putting the cameras on the dogs and sending the dogs in to locate things. And he was one of the first people to use lasers with the dogs too. And then the Scandinavian Working Dog Institute, who's really well known, they of course have done a lot with lasers now. They're mainly, these guys are all, well, not Simon, but most of these people are training bomb dogs. That's where the big push is nowadays. Ever since the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, everything's kind of moved to dual purpose dogs, is what the U.S. would call them. They're looking for bombs first, and then they can be used they can be used to apprehend or hold. It's different. It used to be, we used to have, and I know that they started using them again in Thailand, scout dogs, which located the enemy in the jungle. This increased people's life expectancy a huge amount during the Vietnam War, and actually before that in World War II. and in the war that happened in Malaysia too. The British were some of the first people that started using those dogs. There was a big training center in Malaysia for a lot of dogs, and then everybody came to the combat tracking dogs. I don't know if you did anything with the combat tracking dogs, but but there's a lot here on the tactical side because things change, technology changes, and so I'm wondering, do they now have a budget to buy dogs, or how is that happening? How are you getting dogs now?
Well, it depends on the department what
Oh,
ministry they're from. But yeah, of course they have a budget. Most of the time they don't buy the dogs. Instead, what they do is they get the dogs donated
yeah.
from another country.
Do you have a dedicated dog training center now? Is there a dedicated dog training center like in Phnom Penh or
Well,
what?
we have no, we have, which is called for the government, is called the so simplified, the dog training center, but it's run by CMAC. CMAC runs it, and now they have an MOU with the entire government to train all canine units and to issue out qualifications, dog handler courses, and skill set for canines to be used in Cambodia. So they're trying to set the standard for it right now with mine detection, bomb detection, and patrol dogs.
Are you now using dogs at the airport, Phnom Penh
We have,
International?
and yeah, yes, we have. Recently, when the new prime minister was elected into office, our country signed an MOU with a French company, which they have a 15-year MOU security aviation thing. It's an acronym, so it's called Security Aviation Cambodia. But they have a 15-year MOU with Cambodia, where they have canines. They trained in France, and then they brought it over, and they have a security team here in Cambodia locally.
I happen to be wearing a French Army canine canine training unit right now. That's
That's nice.
that's kind of wild. That's kind of wild, actually, that talk about that. But yeah, they've done a lot of really good work. I mean, the French government has done a lot of work with the military. The Malinois it was kept alive during World War II in France. Actually, another long story. I know everything, people, about all these dogs, but they were almost wiped out. Malinois and the Dutch Shepherd were from the same region of Belgium and Holland, where the border is, and they were almost wiped out in World War II, and they were kept alive. They were kept alive by the French, basically. So that's part of the history. Yeah, that's cool though. That I always wondered when the airport was going to start using. It's just better. I mean, it's just better, and people are going to be a lot.
Absolutely.
They're going to be a lot. They're worried. People are worried more too when there's a dog. They know they can't sneak. They can't sneak things in and stuff as easily. That's pretty cool. After I left, because when last time I saw you was when the Wuhan virus was just starting, and I got I got stuck in Thailand. Yeah. That's where it's from. And it was just starting when we were doing stuff. It was just starting because we were getting all the reports from China. And anyway, I got stuck in Thailand because I got my Thai dog. I brought my Thai dog out of Thailand, and which is impossible now to do. But anyway, so I was there like 5-6 months trying to find a flight. But what I was gonna say though is that it's definitely a big improvement. I'm wondering, are you starting to get Labrador retrievers, or are you just sticking with German Shepherds?
It's funny that you mentioned that. No, it's funny that you say that. It's because CMAC and different military units that have canine units. They have Labradors. We have a military unit that's stationed with the UN and have Labradors. They have 2 black labs and a yellow
Yeah.
Labrador they use for
Yeah,
explosive detection.
Yeah, it's detection. Yeah, yeah. They're used for tracking, tracking, trailing. Then there's a difference if you really know, but whatever. But tracking, trailing, and then bombs, location detection. Labradors are used quite a bit for that. They're because the high percentage of them can do it, the work. It's the same thing as originally why so many people went with German Shepherds, because a high percentage of them used to be high percentage could do the work. I mean, other dogs can do the work, but if you're just going on percentages, then that's why you saw German Shepherds everywhere. Originally, they were great dogs. I mean, if you go way back, they were great dogs, but then they became popular and became a fad and popular, and then people started ruining them, which I think you're going to see with the Malinois too, because people have them that don't know what to do with the Malinois. They shouldn't have them. By the way, which is strange. What I was going to say though, right after I left Cambodia, I got some emails and stuff from people, Barong, expats, Barong, who were in Cambodia, who wanted me to train their dogs. And I was like, well, I'm not there. I'm not there now. And I didn't know what the state of everything was at that time, because everything was being locked down. That's when so I didn't know, what was going on there with anything. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. But I mean, the culture with the dogs is very different in Cambodia than, say, Europe or United States or Canada.
It's definitely.
Yeah,
it's a work in progress.
Yeah. I was going to say, but so have you been? Because I know that I know some French guys and stuff in Battambang that have dogs, and I was just wondering if you've been there doing any training because of that. No, because of that.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, training. I mean, personal training.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking. Yeah.
I've done like some government stuff with the local police, but as far as my business, I've had a few customers contact me from Battambang. They bring their dogs, they ship it over from Battambang, which is like a 5-hour drive, 4-hour drive.
Yeah. Depends on the road. Yeah, depends on the road. Yeah, there was.
Well, the road is actually nice now. It's paved. It's like a big highway. It's smooth. It's a really nice road. It's just if you drive normal speed, you'll get here in 4.5 hours. If you drive quite fast, you get here in 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Fast fast to Cambodian standard.
Right. Yeah, I know.
It's normal. It's normal. Cambodian standard. Fast is like 120 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
And your guys, that's like 80 miles per hour.
The thing is, I used to do that horrible bus between Phnom Penh and Phnom Penh. Oh man, and there were times of the year you couldn't make it.
You couldn't make a bus that's even longer.
Yeah, you couldn't make it. I mean, you couldn't make it to all the way to Phnom Penh sometimes because people don't know. I mean, it was like they kept saying they were going to put the railroad back in, but they never did. So that was horrible. I have horrible memories of trying to get to Phnom Penh and then crossing the border there. Yeah. But I'm surprised. Why I bring up Phnom Penh is I'm surprised because that's a place to be using dogs. Is what I'm saying. The border. I'm surprised there's not.
Yeah.
Are you starting to put dogs on the borders or not?
The Thai have dogs on their side.
Do they?
Yeah, they don't have dogs yet.
They didn't have them. They didn't have them when I've crossed a lot of Thai borders. They didn't have them in in the one
in
going to
Point Bat
Laos?
as recent.
Yeah.
I know as
Okay.
recent as 2 years ago when I was in Point Bet about 2 years
Yeah.
ago for the casino fire. I remember seeing Thailand had dogs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't have them there, and then there's also the crossing. Down by, I forget the Khmer name down there, but Trot. Trot down the south part going crossing to Thailand. The Trot. It's
Okay, yes, yes.
yeah. I forget the name of the whatever. But yeah,
Close
there's
enough.
nothing. Yeah, it's nothing. There were no dogs there either. But I lived there a long time in Southeast Asia, and so yeah, I saw. I always thought that there was a lot of opportunity for dogs and that I wasn't seeing, and I don't know. I didn't understand what was going on, and then that was the thing when I met you, you were making a big push, fighting the battle. I mean, you're basically fighting the battle alone, and you were saying, you were telling them that
Yeah,
dogs can do this, that saves people. A dog can take a place of four people easily on most things and
absolutely.
stuff. Yeah. So you were saying
Yeah,
that
so
you were
teaching owners about dog ownership responsibility. I have a pet hotel situation where sort of like doggy daycare. People will leave their dogs while they go off on their staycation or holiday somewhere, and then they come back and collect their dogs. They could do group training. I have people who do group classes on basic obedience. Pretty much, I'm just trying to set the standard in Cambodia and how people can live with dogs, have dogs, and not let it roam free and just eat garbage and just don't care about it. Be
Yeah.
responsible for your dog. So this is
Right.
what I'm doing with my business. On top of uh, the other training I have, which is called the VIP uh, canine escorts. What I mean by that is I'll have an advanced team will go to the location prior to VIP arriving, and we'll clear uh, the room or the hotel for any explosive, any kind of VIP delegates from around the world. They will come, they will hire us. We'll work hand in hand with the, here they call it the bodyguard unit. Like the US, we'll do something similar with bodyguards do with canines. We're just
Yeah.
VIP, very close protection with canines, and we'll have a unit escorting them with the canine in the back on the travel car. So we'll do something like that with the unit. We'll go and make sure that the VIP gets to the location, and then the VIP is safe, and then we'll just detach ourselves once the VIP is where they are and they're safe where they need to be, and we just leave after that. Our job is done. So they hire
Yeah.
us to make sure that the vehicles is safe from the explosives and that the location they're going is safe from explosives, that the hotel they're staying at. And then sometimes they hire our protection canines, um, the less lethal canines, because not all security guards are allowed to carry weapons. So we have the less lethal. If they want to hire, they can hire the military special units that are allowed to carry weapons. So in Cambodia, security guards aren't allowed to carry weapons,
Oh.
specifically handguns or long rifles. So it's one of the issues that my unit is kind of facing. Not my unit, my VIP security unit is facing. We're trying to get an exemption. I mean, they make exemption, so we're trying to get an exemption where
Mm.
we can get our K9 unit to do that, to have because they're all qualified on small arms, so we want to be able to have that high profile protection for VIPs
Yeah.
that we go
That's
to.
that's strange because when I was there in very early, like 2000, I mean, the 1990s is a different story. Cambodia was a totally different place in the 1990s, but 2000 there were like everywhere you went, there were guys with AK-47s. You know, I mean, like guards everywhere. They all had
Yeah.
they had AK-47s. So that's weird to me. All the like like at the Russian market, for example, the Russian market or the Central market. Still, they had AK-47s, and so that's weird that they would try to limit you. I don't understand that. That doesn't make much
Well,
sense.
actually, so the law's changed since 2003. Private security firms or private citizens are not allowed to carry weapons, firearms. Let me specific about that. Private citizens and security guards of any kind under the public management of security, safety and security under Cambodia Ministry of Interior. There is no one that can carry any kind of weapon unless you are military or police. Where security guards at, like for example, Central Market carrying the AK-47s and those tan suits, those are not security guards. Those are actually government employees. They just wear a tan suit and they have the AK-47s. That is just their EDC. They don't, because apparently they don't have small hand guns for them. So it's easier to hand out assault rifles. Uh, I mean,
Yeah.
even now, but they limit it now. They kind of, because they want to be less aggressive looking and more friendly. So now they're allowing them to carry handguns instead of rifles. They still do the same thing what you mentioned since 2000s, but it's just less assault rifles and more
Yeah.
handguns.
The whole history of Cambodia, the recent history, I'm talking from the war and stuff, is very different than a lot of places in Southeast Asia, and it was always considered the wild west. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that it would take too long to explain all this to people, but it's kind of interesting to hear that things are changed so much since just in the last few years things have changed so much there. So that's another reason to go to dogs though too. I mean, if they were using dogs at the Central Market, for example, I don't think they're going to have anybody stealing anything. I mean, it's because there's the psychological factors. What I'm saying that about.
Yeah, the deterrent, yes.
Yeah. I mean that it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and a lot of people don't. They don't realize. I mean, they're willing to try to steal something, even if a guy has got a rifle or something, but they're not going to do it with a dog because the dog can catch them. The dog
Exactly.
can definitely. The dog can.
They know like if I steal this, you're not gonna shoot me. They're like, but if I steal this, they see a dog, then shoot, they might send that dog on me.
Yeah,
So,
or they try to get on a moto, and they try to get on a moto and get away. Like some of those guys are not really in shape. They're not going to catch him, but the dog is definitely going to knock him off the bike. I mean, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of people listening. There's a lot of advantages to using dogs. This is just a lot of advantages, and it's good to know that you're still you didn't give up. You didn't give up the fight. Because it's difficult when you're one person and you're trying to get something changed, and you got it's like, oh hey, how's was it the Navy? Was a guy with the Malawal the Navy? Was he a Navy?
Yeah. You were lucky to meet him. He's actually he's very high position, the general. And I was surprised that he said, yeah, sure, you can come. And I was like, so when you met him, he still has the same rank. He just has a higher position now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a 3-star Navy general. He is this, I think, maybe the second in charge of the Navy, not the first, but the second or the third. Like he's in a lineage of in charge. He is in charge of certain sectors, like the deputy. What I don't know the exact terminology or name, but yeah, he's pretty a laid back person. And he loves dogs and knives. As you know, I've told you
Yeah.
about him.
Yeah.
He loves knives, and unfortunately, you weren't able to show your skill set to him that day.
Because we were
That
going to
time.
go. We're going to go back. We were supposed to go back, but then you got that. You had to go to Cap, I think. Didn't you have to go to Cap? I think you had to go to Cap or something. And
Yeah, I had to go somewhere. I forgot what it was.
yeah,
But yeah. And then I think you were leaving Thailand.
yeah. I was because I was on a short.
So
That was one of my short. Yeah. I lived in Cambodia for over a year, and then I always came back and forth. I mean, I mainly lived in Thailand, but I was in the Philippines for long periods of time, and also Cambodia. I always liked Cambodia. I mean, the people. I like the Khmer people really a lot. I mean, I always got along. I always got along with the Khmers, and it was just there were a lot of cool people. There were a lot of cool people there, and I gotta tell people too, like, man, there are some incredible looking girls in Cambodia. I mean, you're just like, I almost ran off the road. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, people like Thai girls or that's like, yeah, but there are some Khmer girls that are just unbelievable. But anyway, but what I was going to say there though, yeah. So does he still have that Malinois, or I mean, how that Malinois is probably what, like 7 or 8 years old, maybe. I don't know.
Last I heard, he had the Malinois, but it was on a resort. That was the last I heard. It was on he brought it to his resort somewhere.
Oh, okay.
To
Okay.
So I'm
Okay.
not too sure because I haven't been in contact with him in quite a while.
Oh,
After,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So after that, well,
Oh.
recently maybe like about a year. I haven't been in contact with him a year because I trained. He had 2 chocolate labs. He wanted me to train basic obedience on. So I did that. But other than that, yeah, I haven't talked to him about a year.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's the last I heard that his dog was on at a resort. He owns a resort, so
It's
co-owner of a resort is what he calls there.
what in Sanookville? Down in Sanookville, or?
I couldn't tell you. I didn't ask any
Oh, okay.
details.
Well, because I know that the Navy. I mean, because of the Navy thing, the Sanookville's a big
Yeah,
important.
most likely it's probably in that
Yeah,
area.
yeah. But yeah, no, because I knew at the time you were trying to train handlers for him, weren't you? Because that one kid was really scared to
Yeah,
death.
exactly. Yeah,
That one kid was scared to death of the Malinois. I
yeah.
remember. I remember
So
that.
that didn't work. Yeah, that didn't work out. He wanted me to train 2 handlers for him to for his dogs, and so that the idea was scratched.
Oh, really?
We tried
Oh,
it for a
okay.
few months. It didn't work out. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah. You
uh,
didn't have yeah. Because
it's hard to find the right. It's
tell
hard
me
to find the
about
right
it.
people,
Yeah.
the right fortitude for this job. So with my business, how I hired my guys is I get them ex bodyguard, military, and we get them, get them while they're green, and we mush them up to what I need for my standard.
It takes. There are a lot of people who just cannot do the bite work. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They cannot do the bite work. That's incredibly important, and knowing how to do that to bring out the best in the dog and develop the dog, all of that stuff is difficult. So yeah, that's why. Yeah,
Sorry to cut it short. I am getting to my destination,
okay.
but I definitely appreciate being on your podcast, and thank you for inviting me.
Okay, thanks, and I'll be talking to you soon. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Alrighty. You bet. Bye.
All right, thanks, buddy.